Well, hello there. It is the end of 2024. Let's start the beers then and get onto this tier list. I've been thinking about doing this tier list for a few days. So the premise of the tier list is not going to be types of beer. Maybe that one day will come. It's more of like, when is the best time to have a beer? Cheers. When is the most refreshing beer? What does it really come down to? The quality of a beautiful, tasty, crisp beeroo. This is the Anthor's best time to drink beeroos. I've never done one of these before, so this might go really bad. Or maybe it'll be a nice fun time where you can all disagree with me. The first beer on my beer tier list is what's called the Nomi Hodai beer. Now, the Nomi Hodai beer needs a little bit of an introduction. A Nomi Hodai beer is a beer that is available at an all-you-can-drink establishment. You pay 2,000, 3,000 yen for 2 or 3 hours of all-you-can-drink beer. Now, that does depend on the establishment. Sometimes the Nomi Hodai beer absolutely sucks, and that would put it into, like, do only once. But the best Nomi Hodai is when they sell premium beers and I'm not saying like craft beers. I'm not a big fan of craft beers, but the good stuff. When they've got the good stuff, a Nomi Hodai beer has to go into the A tier list. Now the tiers are simply, I forgot I should have introduced this. Let's put this back for a second. The tiers are S for simply unbeatable. A is an excellent time. B is better than bad. Like it's not horrible, but it's still pretty good. It's still okay. C, I can't really recommend it, but in a pinch, a beer's a beer. In my opinion, a beer is always good, but in a pinch, it's okay. It's a serviceable beer, but I don't recommend it. And lastly, the D is do only once. The first one, the Nomi Hodai beer, the all-you-can-drink beer, is an excellent time. You're with your boys. Yeah, you go to the restaurant. Let's order beers. Oh, should we do Nomi Hodai? Should we do Nomi Hodai? Because when you do Nomi Hodai, it's no longer about just having a beer with the boys. It's about how many beers can we fit down our throats in the next 2 hours. And it's really only an hour and a half, because the last half hour is the drinking time where it's not even, you can't even order anymore. So the Nomi Hodai beer is a excellent time. Okay, now for the next beer, we've got the outdoor beer. Now, we've got to be careful because there are variations of the outdoor beer, but I'm talking about the beer garden beer. You go to a beer garden, it's lovely outside. Now, I really hummed and hard, should I put this into the S tier or the A tier? But I think it's got to go into A tier. It's very, very good. I love a good summer garden beer. Now, the problem is, in Tokyo, there's not many good places for this, so I don't have that much experience. I've lived in Japan for 10 years. There's not very good beer garden experiences here, so that's why I'm putting it into A. This is very much my list. It's not the I'm going to call it the ultimate list, but it is what it is. Next, we have the after work beer. You come home, you've had a long day at work. Now, you could go to a bar, but you don't. You come home and you just crack one open in your living room. Better than bad. It's not the best. It's a bit of a sad beer, really. The after-work beer at home alone is an okay beer. It's serviceable, but it's not the best of experiences. Really, all of these should be S tier because it's beer is beer. Next, we've got one of the ultimate beers. This is the Shinkansen beer, the bullet train beer. This really is unbeatable. Really is unbeatable. You cannot go wrong with a Shinkansen beer. This is my routine. You get a 2-hour Shinkansen. You buy 2 tall boy beers, morning, night, day, whenever it is. You also get some great snacks. One of the snacks has got to be beef jerky. Beef jerky, Shinkansen beer, nothing beats. You can also get some like nuts, some like peppercorn flavored nuts. Right, next we have the restaurant beer. Now this might be a little bit controversial, but I don't love it. Now the restaurant beer, It includes going to a restaurant with your significant other. It includes just a casual beer with a friend. But the main focus is the food. You get the beer to service the food. Like today, I went for breakfast with my wife at 10 a.m. I got myself a restaurant beer. You got to do it. So that goes into the B. It's not amazing, but I do enjoy it. I really enjoy it. The next beer, another one that I absolutely adore. It's best moment of the year for me. It's got to be S tier airport beer. Yeah, the airport beer, you get in, you've just checked in, you've gotten past security, you've got like an hour or two to your flight. You find a nice little cozy spot, either like facing the planes or just in a nice little pub, depending on the airport, and you take a taste of that beer, and it is life-changing. Some of these you have to continue drinking to really fully enjoy, but the airport beer itself is wonderful. You are getting to a little bit of a tipsy moment. You're getting yourself mentally prepared for the upcoming flight. And you're also with the knowledge that you're about to go somewhere, whether it's going to the UK or whether it's going abroad or whatever for me. You know that you're going to have to like relax as much as you can for the upcoming flight. And you're just also thinking, I don't have to give a shit about work right now. Right? You're completely in the freedom. As long as you're not scared about missing your flight, if you're not a nervous flyer or anything, the airport beer, unbeatable in my opinion. Really, really fantastic. However, the following beer is a little bit sketchy because they're related. You have the airport beer, S tier experience, really unbeatable beering out. It's amazing. Then you get onto the plane and there's like an hour before they start serving food. You ask for a beer and it's very, very hit or miss. This is the plain beer and I'm putting it into can't recommend. This might be controversial because a glass of wine on a plane is quite nice. But the plain beer is plain. It's not that enjoyable. It's usually that your taste buds are kind of not meeting it very well. You can't order as much as you want without raising an eyebrow of the stewardess or the steward. You just don't, the flight attendant, sorry, I need to be more 2025 with my conversations right now. You don't really enjoy it. And you know what? In a lot of flights, it's not even cold. It's a warm beer. And that, to me, disappoints. A warm beer on a flight where the carbonation isn't quite there. It's serviceable. It's a nice palate cleanser. It's super hit or miss. So that's why we put the airport beer, the plain beer, into can't recommend. Next, we have one close to my heart, pub beer in the UK. For most people, this is, for a lot of people, especially British people, it's not really a big deal. It's just beer. You go for a beer anywhere. But a pub beer in the UK is so lovely. Really, really lovely. Yeah, the British pub beer, so close to my heart. Really, really do love it. Next, this is a good one. The park beer. There's a variation of the park beer coming up later. But the park beer, wonderful experience. It's summer. You're chilling with your friends. Somebody says, you want a beer? They've brought a cooler. Oh, you crack it. I mean, the thing is, nobody ever says you brought a beer because everybody brings their own beers. So it's just wonderful. You're sitting in the sun. You're enjoying it with your friends. You're sitting on the grass. You got that itchiness on your ass because the grass is kind of itchy and you're wearing shorts and it's going up into your like crevices and it's kind of uncomfortable. But it's made wonderful by the presence of the beer room. Yeah, the park concrete beer is a no-go. Don't do it. You got to be on the grass. You have to be on the grass. Sitting on a concrete slab while you chug back beers. That sounds like like very depressing state. If I ever get to that point, and you ever see me and I'm sitting on a concrete slab with a slide or something next to me, call the police, because I have dropped too far from the peak of my life by that point. That's a depressing beer. I would, if that was on here, I'd put that in a D. It's such a big difference. They're two different park beers, very, very different. Okay, what have we got next? The outdoor summer beer. Now, this is, like I say, this is mixing with the park beer and the previously mentioned outdoor beer. But the outdoor summer beer is like if you go to a festival, an outdoor festival. Now, this could be a music festival. This could be a fireworks festival. This could be just a food stall festival. That's where it differs from the park beer and the beer garden beer. This is a great, great beer. I do enjoy this. It's going to go into A. I know that it sounds, the way I described it, could put it at S. But what it suffers from is the extreme heat of my body, which I don't like. I don't like being hot when I'm drinking. What is about to come is absolutely S tier. And this doesn't, like, not everyone can like empathize with this beer. This is a fantastic beer. The next one, S, snowboarding mountain beer. Honestly, one of the greatest beers you can have. Picture this. You are excited to go snowboarding. And I did this the other day. I went snowboarding last weekend. You are excited to go snowboarding. You're getting really, really pumped. You go on your first couple of runs and then, man, I'm sweating. I'm a little hot. It's lovely and cold outside. The sun's out. If the sun's out, it's even better. What should we do? And then one of you boys is just like, we should get a beer. And you forget about all the snow for like that 10-second period. You get your can of beer in the middle of the mountain, crack it open. My gosh, what a wonderful, wonderful experience. Like that I take the mountain beer over a powder day. I love my powder, but there's nothing more glorious than doing a couple of runs, getting open your beer. I can't do very many tricks, but doing a 180 after you've had a beer is better than the 180 before you've had a beer. Let me tell you that, because you lose all sense of fear. This is like the beer that takes away your fear. I'm on cloud 9. The snow itself is my cloud. And that's another thing that I've put into factor with this list is, can something go wrong? If it's like nothing can interrupt this beer, it's an S tier. Even at the airport beer, your flight's delayed by an hour, great. An hour more of beering. It's fantastic. Okay, next we have the beer tasting platter. Now this one, I kind of like it, but I don't recommend it. The reason, everybody has their favorite types of beers. I mean, everybody who can drink beer, everybody who does drink beer. You really, really don't get to enjoy the beer when there's 5 different types. When there's 5 different types, and they could all be amazing beers, but you got, like, there's always like a dark beer, which I'm not that against, but I don't love. Like, for example, like a Guinness. And then you've got like the very IPA style beer, or you've got a very wheaty beer, or you've got a very hoppy beer. And there's only one beer. There's always only one beer that you really, really love. And you kind of just wish that you had that for the entire time. So that's why I can't have this as very high. It's got to be down at can't recommend. Now, the next one. The 12th beer of the night. Let's all slow down for a second, because the 12th beer of the night is when you are probably blackout drunk. You're probably waking up in a different city. You're probably going to regret it for not just the next day, the next 12 days. It's like the opposite of Christmas morning. It is your final moment. It's the kind of beer that you wake up the next day and you swear off beer for life. Like, it's so traumatic. You're not enjoying it at that point. I live in Tokyo. So you go out drinking all night. You wake up the next day in a different city because you slept on the train. You got on the train at 5 a.m. and you wake up like 200 kilometers from your home. And it is honestly the worst feeling in the world. And you've got 10% charge left on your phone. Your headphones are dead. Oh, I'm glad I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm so bloody glad, because it sucks. And the 12th beer is the one that does that. Because once you're having a 12th beer, there's a few other things that you got to think about. It's not just about the alcohol content. You have put so many bloody calories into your body that you're going to like gain like 10 kilos in the next 6 days. Additionally, with my current age, I get bloated easily. You're going to be feeling all those bubblies in your chest. It's going to be coming up and you're going to be wanting to throw up. Maybe you will throw up by this time. Who knows? Now, at this point, instead of the 12th beer, is when you should be having the first kebab. The first kebab is perfect spot, the 12th beer. But if you go past that soft line and without food, it's a dangerous play. Very dangerous play. Kebabs, no. Triple A. Let me teach you something. A drunken kebab is calorie free. It does not add to your daily intake. I don't know how it works. I really don't know how it works. It's a science. Somebody's probably researched it somewhere, but it is strictly invisible calories. It comes straight in and it goes straight out. Believe me, it does not get digested. It's just purely for the satisfaction of getting food down your gullet. That's what the kebab is. And sometimes, if you've drank enough beers, it's going to come right back up. Anyway, so you're eating it for the enjoyment, and then you're punishing yourself later by expunging it one way or another. That's how it works. I don't understand the intricacies of it, but that's how the first kebab works. Next, I've got another D for you. Giving out all the Ds. The first beer ever is a D. And it's kind of D because of, by elimination of do only once. You could literally can only do your first beer ever one time. But I remember growing up as a young British lad, and I really, really hated beer. I basically pretended to like beer until I liked it. And it's just really, really bad. You drink it because your dad drinks it, and you're like, yeah, I want to be cool like my dad. I want to drink the beer like my father. Be the kid that he wants me to be. Aspire to be like my hero kind of situation. That's what the first ever beer is like. And then when you drink it and you're like, what is this piss? What is this absolute tragic liquid that's coming into my mouth? It's disgusting. And then you just continue drinking it. Like, you go to the house parties and nobody likes beer, but everybody's drinking beer. It doesn't make any sense. You're all underage. You're all like 16, 17, drinking beers that nobody likes. And then you just kind of whisper to your friend, like, I don't even like beer. And then he goes, yeah, me neither. What the fuck? Why are we drinking this shit? That's the first beer experience. And it's shit. But then as you get older, that beer just changes. Next up, we do have the beach beer, which is better than bad. Now, the reason that the beach beer is not that high, it could be higher, but it's not. I don't know. I kind of like it. I like going to the beach and having a beer. But it's like sandy and like the sun's blaring in you. You kind of don't really enjoy it as much as the experience of being on the beach anyway. I think at that kind of time, I prefer like a fruity sour or something like that, but not a beer. I drink the beers because I like a beer. Like, there's so much sand, and not to sound like Anakin, but it doesn't mix well with beers. A beach and a beer is not a fantastic time. It's a good time, don't get me wrong. That's why it's better than bad, but it's not a fantastic time. Right, what's next? Camping beer. Let me paint you a picture. Let me paint you a picture of the camping beer. You've just had a long drive. You get there, the sun's still coming out, you're quite warm, you're putting up your tent, the sun's starting to set, you're feeling like, oh. I'm ready for this beer because you feel this is one that you earn. An earned beer is a delicious beer. But yeah, you're camping. You put in the effort. You put up your tent. You're setting up like the barbecue area. You got a cooler full of beers that you just picked up from the supermarket on the way over. Put up your tent. Bam. Chairs out. Sit down. Start the fire. Beer. You look to your friend. Beer. Bam. You're into a good time. It's absolutely a great beer. It's going to be an excellent time though. We've got the Saturday morning beer. We'll put it better than bad. Now, I am a Saturday morning beer believer. Not straight away. You don't wake up and immediately have the beer. That's too much. But the Saturday morning, you've had like water. You're playing some video games, chilling out. It's like 10 a.m. and you say to yourself, "I'm fucking gonna have a beer right now. Why not? What's stopping me? I am an adult." Like, there's a moment in your life where you realize it's not that bad to have a morning beer. It's not that bad, and you're not like waking up and pounding whiskey. I do put it in better than bad. Now there's a few reasons behind this. This could go to A if you're with your friends on vacation. Going on vacation with your boys and having a morning beer is wonderful, really nice, like really lovely time. But I'm going for the average experience here. The average Saturday beer is a solo experience, and the solo experiences, they never quite match the level of beers with the boys. Like, some cases, some of these, you can just not drink the beer. Like the Shinkansen beer, you cannot do a Shinkansen without a beer. It's just too good. The airport beer, you cannot do an airport without a beer. It's just unbeatable. The snowboarding trip, the snowboarding mountain beer, literally impossible. You could offer me $1,000 to not do it, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, but I gotta have this snowboarding mountain beer. And the camping beer, like, depends. I feel like I gotta do the camping beer when I'm with my boys. If I'm with my wife, maybe not so much, but with the boys, it's got to be done. Whereas the Saturday morning beer, I could do without it. I'm not doing the Saturday morning beer every time I have a Saturday. That would be a problem. That would be a cause for concern. Okay, next. We've got the beer with a view. I've got a photo of Mount Fuji here. And a beer review is time independent, situationally independent. You can, if you've got a good view and you're having a good beer, you're having a good time. And that's why I'm going to put this at A. I love having a nice view, whether you are on top of a mountain, looking at a mountain, looking in the cityscape. You're on the 45th floor in a restaurant. These are all great views. The good views. I like that. But because it's so situationally independent, it can't be S. Because you can make that anyway. The S has got to be the moments as well. You're not just talking about the actual experience of it. You're talking about the memories that you're going to slowly fade away because you're drinking too much. But the beer with a view, pretty good. You can't go wrong with it. We've got another very rare, very enjoyable, and a kind of against the rules beer coming up. And I'm going to paint you a picture. Because this can actually semi-match with the snowboarding. It can match with snowboarding. You can have 2 S-tier beers in a single day. That's crazy. That's wild. And you got to also understand what this is as well. And now, if you've never been to Japan, you might not get this. But it is an onsen beer. Now, an onsen beer, and we're about to get a little bit homoerotic here, and I swear it's not the reason behind it. But the onsen beer, you're naked with your buds in a bath, outdoors. You've got a beer in your hand. My God, it doesn't get better with that. You're bonding with your boys in a public bath. You feel the cold air on your face. You got the nice hot water, and you've just got beer in hand. Now, the reason that it is S tier, but it's so rare that you can do this because no onsens allow you to bring beers in. So this is technically against the rules. You're not allowed to do it. Now the next couple are kind of similar to the onsen beer. And I had arguments with my friends about the next one because I don't rate it that high. The next one is the shower beer. Now, to me, the shower beer is not very good. But the boys did remind me of something when I was talking about this with them the other day. So I had the image of a shower beer as just getting in the shower and having a beer. And that just doesn't like ring bells to me. It's not very good. I thought maybe a shower orange. Yes, any day. A shower orange, bam. Just like garble those juices all over you while it washes away. What a great experience, a shower orange. But a shower beer just feels like I'm going to get water in my beer. And I'm not really a big fan of diluting my beer in any capacity. But then they reminded me of something. And I hadn't experienced this for many years because I haven't been playing any kind of team sports in a decade, basically. They said the shower beer after sports, after football, after soccer for you Yanks, a shower beer with your boys after sports. I was like, fuck, that's a good beer. That's an actually good beer. So I've had to find a middle ground because I would put the shower beer by yourself at home straight down at do only once. You do it for the experience, it fucking sucks. It's really not worth bringing a beer to the shower. But a group shower beer, oh, that's a good beer. That's a really, really good beer. Now the next one. Now if you see, we've got I don't know how well you can see, we've got my little dog here. Is a bath beer. This is an excellent time. This is a solo experience. This is not with your boys. This is the solo bath beer. You've had your shower. Oh, no, actually. So the bath beer is, maybe it's dependent on how you shower in Japan or how you bathe in Japan. What you do with the bath beer here, you have your shower, you get all clean, then you get into a lovely, fresh, hot 41, 42 degree bath, and you bring a beer with you. Bam. Crack it open. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. It's a great beer. Chilling out, you put on a YouTube video or something, you feel like it's close to onsen beer, but it's just the onsen beer, it needs the boys, it needs the experience of the onsen. With the bathtub, you don't have the freedom of movement, right? So yeah, the solo bathtub beer is good. Next, we have the first beer in a hotel. If you're traveling solo, it's not that great, but if you are with your significant other, in my case nowadays it's my wife, but you go to a hotel, you go on vacation, and let's be honest, boys, the wives, the girlfriends, they take some time to get ready. You want to go out for dinner and they take fucking forever, bro. So this solo beer by the balcony or just in the hotel while you wait for the lady to get ready is a good beer. It's a nice little oh, I'm on vacation. I've had my airport beer. I've had my airplane beers, and now I got my hotel beer, and it's quite nice. Beer in the hotel room is quite good. This one's an interesting one. I don't know how many people have done this. I don't really rate it that much, but it's kind of nice for the experience of it all. It's like a beer factory, right? You go to a place that produces beer. You get to see what it's like. And then at the end, you get a beer. And it's quite an enjoyable experience. But I don't rate it that high because it's like you go for the to learn a little bit. And yeah, it is basically just okay. I don't love it. How I've been to the Sapporo one. I'd be interested to go to to one in Asahi. That's okay, but yeah, I'd put it as B, better than bad. It's a cool experience. It would actually be do only once, but it's not bad. That's the thing. The do only once is like a bad experience. Okay, what have we got next? Oh, this one's interesting. The hiking beer. You've just done your long hike, and you have a beer at the top of the mountain. So this is the rare time where a warm beer is tolerable. It's not the best beer. Don't get me wrong. It's really not the best beer, but it's kind of satisfying. It's got a little bit of like, going back to what we said earlier about the camping, right? In the camping, it's an achievement beer. You drink it for the achievement, or you've done a long road trip, you've put up your tent, let's have a beer. But those ones are cold. This one, you've hiked for like, what, 6 hours or something, or however many hours it takes, depending on the hike. But the problem is the beer's been warming up in the back, right? It's been like gathering heat while you've been hiking. So it's a singular beer. It's a rare beer. You don't do it every time you hike. I don't hike very often, but I do on occasion. Like once every couple of years, I'll have a little hike and I enjoy a little beer at the end. And this is specifically at the top of the mountain beer. Because you can come back down, you can have the return beer. That turns into just a normal beer, in my opinion. This is a specific kind of beer where you have a warm beer at the top. Don't love warm beers, but I'll take a beer. You're feeling exhausted, tired, and the beer is just going to give you that little peep of energy. So we're going to put this onto B. This is better than bad. Not amazing, because at the end of the day, it's not a great beer. If there was just somehow at the top of a mountain a bar or pub, oh my god, what a beer that would be. But that does not really happen. You drank a lot the week before and you're being disciplined now. Good. You did a hiking sour. I think that's a even better than a beer, to be honest, because the sours you can drink in any temperature, really. They don't lose their flavor with warmer temperatures. So the next beer is so close to my heart. We talked about beach beer earlier, but the river beer. Oh my god, is that a good beer? That's an A beer. That's an A tier beer. It's an A tier beer. Oh fuck, this is one of those could be S level beers. So the river beer is wonderful because the river is always like, you get into the river, you play in the river, and it's always like colder than the outside. This is very specific to hot areas, by the way. You get into the river, it's cold outside, it's cold in the river, it's hot outside, you crack open that beer, absolutely delicious. The river beer is like, well, I'd probably have it in half S, half A, because it's very similar to the next one, which is actually an A. And that is, this is a solid A barbecue beer. Oh god, you've got the fire rolling, and the thing is, the barbecue beer could be part of the camp, could be part of the river, could be part of the beach, could be all of them. But like, this is specifically, I'm thinking about when I'm cooking the food, and I'm doing the barbecue, and I'm having a beer while I cook the food and the barbecue. Oh, what a bloody wonderful combination it is. The barbecue beer couldn't be better. The reason, I don't know why I don't put this in S. To be honest, a lot of these A's I really want to put in S, but they're so, like, they don't create great memories. These all create great memories. And I'm kind of changing my leveling a little bit. If it was a barbecue beer and a river beer at the same time, S. S, absolutely. But maybe it's because as well, the barbecues in Japan, it's not like a stand-up affair with the whole, like, you got the whole grill and everything. My experience with barbecues here is a little camping style barbecue, so that's why I kind of would overlap with camping a little bit. It's a little bit hard to quantify in that, but barbecue gives memories. You kind of do it alone. Yeah, but the thing is, if I bring barbecue up, I want to bring river up, because the river is marginally better than a barbecue beer in my opinion. But the river always comes with a barbecue beer. It's like, you go here in Japan, you go to the river, you have a barbecue, you have your beers, and you do your swims. River can be done alone, but what a fucking sad state of affairs if you're going to the river alone to swim and drink beer. Damn, I hope I don't get there. We'll come back to it. When I do the summary of the S tier. Right now, the next two are quite similar, and I almost combined them, but there is a minute difference. So the first one here, so we've got two here. We've got konbini beer, convenience store beer, and then we've got the street beer. Now, they are technically the same, because you have to go to a convenience store to drink a street beer. Convenience store beer would be standing outside of the convenience store and drinking it. The street beer is buying from a convenience store and then translocating to a secondary area. So, for example, you go to the convenience store, you're drinking outside the convenience store, you're chilling. You can kind of go back and forth to the convenience store, but the street beer could be combined with a walk, could be like a walk to a little park, maybe even a concrete park. Maybe if you're with your boys, it's not that bad. If you drink, you never sit down on a street beer though. So you're not sitting down. When we talked about the parks earlier, you're not sitting down on a street beer. So that's kind of the slight difference there. So the Konbini beer is an A-tier beer. It's a fantastic beer. Really, you can't go wrong. You've got easy access to the next beer. You're chilling outside. It depends on the convenience store. Usually you want one with a car park when you're doing this. The ones on the street, it's not that you have to like divert to a street beer. But the convenience store beer in the car park, pretty good. You can kind of sit down. You look a little bit renegade when you're doing it. It's not really like fun for the locals to see you do this. You are literally loitering. It's okay. But very good beer. Good chats. I've had good chats at the Konbini beer. But the street beer is S tier. Street beer is fucking great. You cannot beat a street beer. It's the most easily accessible S tier beer, I would say. You cannot go wrong with it. There are so many opportunities for street beer. And ironically, the photo that I've chosen for the street beer is Shibuya in Tokyo. This year has now unlegalized the street beer. You're not allowed to drink alcohol in the streets of Shibuya anymore. And this is a photo of the sign to say that you can't do that anymore. But it's just unmatched. It's just unmatched. You go for a little walk, you talk, you're with your boys. It's just really good. And the thing is, the nice thing about a street beer, you don't have to do it with the boys. Like the onsen beer, you kind of have to do it with your boys because you can't go to an onsen with your partner. The street beer, you can do it with your partner or girlfriend or wife or boyfriend or whatever. You can do it with anybody. You can do it with a stranger. You can do it with somebody that you just met. You can do it by yourself, but it's not as fun. You've got to have the conversation. The conversation makes it S tier. You can do it with your parents. You could do it with your kids. I mean, like, obviously, kids can't drink, but you can do it in their presence, right? You can do it anytime, any place. Now, America, I know you've got your laws and stuff, but whatever. But you cannot. You can't compare American to the Japanese street beer. The street beer is just absolutely one of the best beers, and I do it on a weekly basis, rain or shine. It's so good. I'll give you a little bit of background why Shibuya does it. So originally, Shibuya was fine with it. And then every Halloween, they would have loads of people gather, like loads of people, and cause a kerfuffle. Now, I think you would have actually been, you might have broken the rules, phones, because I think it wasn't included. I think it was a thing when you were here. I guess the government of Shibuya, I suppose, the Shibuya city, they were done with this whole, like, because it got really out of hand. I started doing this. I started going to Halloween in Shibuya in like 2015. I think my first one was, and it was fucking sick. It was so good. Like the Shibuya City, even I think that for the first 2 years or so, Shibuya City closed the crossing. If I might be completely making this up, but this is how I remember it. We were just like drinking on the street, having a wonderful time, and then in 2019 or so, or 2018, I don't know, it got a little bit out of hand, and it's when I stopped going. I haven't been since I think I went 2015, 16, 17. Maybe 2018, but 2019 it got out of hand. Like people like knocked over a truck, and Shibuya was like, no more. So they've been trying to stop it every year. And it used to be like you weren't allowed to drink alcohol on the streets of Shibuya at Halloween. And this last Halloween, they turned it into, or around Halloween, they turned it into at all. You can't drink on the street in Shibuya. And nobody fucking listens. It's so funny. You walk around, there's signs everywhere saying don't drink on the streets in Shibuya. It's a no drinking zone. And people are just drinking. It's crazy. Oh, what? Oh, Koji. Oh, Koji. Koji's one of my RL friends, by the way. He knows a thing or two about the street beers. The good old days of Shibuya Halloween was unmatched. And that falls under the street beer experience. They used to love it. Shibuya really leaned into it. And now the reason that they're changing as well is because they want to have a Ginza-like appearance. They want to look like high class, like good place to shop. No youths. They don't want youths anymore. They see it as a big inconvenience. So they're changing trying to change their entire image. And it's falling on absolute deaf ears because nobody gives a shit. The other day, a few weeks ago, a month or two ago, I went to Shibuya and there were people skateboarding, drinking, and the police were like just powerless. They turned on their lights and started it's the place for youth. It's always been like that. The shotgun beer. Nice. The shotgun beer. It is hard to recommend this one. If you're bad at shotguns, then it's like do only once. If you're good at shotguns, it's okay, but I don't recommend it. I really don't recommend it. You feel like shit afterwards. You're not doing it for yourself. Nobody enjoys it except the other people. Like you do your shotgun beer, and everybody watches it and say, "Wow, that was a good time." But you're sitting there like gasping for air, like a toddler who just had a fucking big gulp of water, like. It's just not enjoyable. And you also usually spill it down you. And yeah, just not a good way to enjoy beer. I didn't do the shotguns in my youth. I only started to do shotguns when I came to Japan because it's a very Americanized things. We don't do that in the UK. We don't shotgun beers. But I don't rate it very well. Now we've got the next one. This one's an interesting one. The hangover beer. In England, we call it the hair of the dog beer. The recipe to fix all hangover problems is another beer. It's counterintuitive, I know. Maybe you're just pushing your problems into the future, but that's what I like to do. That's just what I do. It is still a pretty good beer. I quite like it. Don't love it. B tier, better than bad. Let's say you have a really bad night drinking. Or a really good night, let's say. A really good night. You're drinking a lot. And if you're at home, a hangover beer sucks. There's no reason to do it. But if you're with your friends, with the boys once again, see how much the boys factor into all these decisions. If you're with the boys on vacation, for example, or you're just kind of got a big weekend where you got loads of events, you have that beer, it fucking fixes you. It fixes you somehow. I don't understand, once again, I don't understand the science behind it, but it is like medicine to a thirsty, dry palate with a big headache. You take that one sip, because you're apprehensive. You're like, I can't do a beer. I drank too much. Somebody, no, drink. You'll feel better. Okay. And then the tonic envelops you. Zeus himself gives you energy down from the Mount Olympus, and you feel wonderful. That is the hangover beer. Absolutely joyous occasion. Love it. But like I say, you can't do this one solo. You can't just wake up to yourself and grab a beer and neck it. It's not that kind of beer. You have to feel the peer pressure. You don't do it by choice. That's why it's pretty good, better than bad. But if in some different parallel universe, the hangover beer is an enjoyable solo experience, it would be A tier. But in the real world, it's not an enjoyable experience, so it goes down to better than bad. We got two more, right? So the second to last one is one that I added last minute, and it kind of falls into the park beer a little bit, but it's a very special kind of park beer and happens once a year. So it is the Hanami beer. Hanami basically means cherry blossom viewing. The only reason I have this so high is because it has created some incredible memories for me and my friends. The Hanami beer is like park beer, but next level. There are so many people around having a great time, literally to see trees be pink. But my God, does it mean a good time? Because this is the one time in the year when you go to a park party and you can interact with anybody. For some reason, it's like all shyness just disappears. You just meet as many people as you can. Has to be S tier. It's such a fucking good beer. It's so good. And this is not this is one of the ones that it's not about the beer itself. It's about the whole experience. Maybe we can do one in the future where we talk about this more. But the beers at Hanami, it's just amazing because you cannot be sad. You really cannot be sad. There's nothing better than a good old Hanami Biru. And lastly, but of course not least, stream beer is do only once. I should never have started this beer drinking streaming personality. Do it once or you commit yourself to a life of torture. Okay? Do it only once. Never, ever, ever beer and stream. It's really it's an S tier. We know it's an S tier. Of course it's an S tier. It's fucking amazing. I love it. It's the only thing I live for. I need beer to stream, and I need to stream to enjoy beer with the viewers. And that is my tier list